Hello, I'm Lizzie and this is Lizzie Reads, and welcome to a new year, a new video where I'm going for a new me and trying to post a video every day for the first week of January 2023. We're doing well so far, but now it's time for my worst books of 2022. So for my worst slash most disappointing, the ones I enjoyed the least, sort of books of the year, we've only got 7. Now, that's not because everything else I read was amazing. That's far from the truth. You'll see how much I struggled in my best books of the year to try and find sort of 10 or a good solid number of books I was really excited to talk about. There were some really good ones in there and a couple of amazing ones, but mostly it was just good and I enjoyed them. But so everything throughout the year was kind of okay, but there were a couple of books that really stood out to me and had to be in this list. So this list also encapsulates worst, dislike them the least, but also encapsulates most disappointing, because some of these books are more that I was just so hyped for them and then they just went a little bit south. Again, we're in another weird filming location. It's fairly dark, the lighting not great, but we're doing what we can with the best that we're going with, and I'm working hard to try and post a video every day this week, and I'm doing good so far. Last time was a little bit touch and go, but I'm doing good so far, so let's get into it. So first of all, let's say this is number 1. We're not going on a grading scale, but the first book I'm going to talk to you about is The Secret by Rhonda Byrne. This is a book about manifestation and the secret of life and the secret of manifestation, which is fine. I went into it knowing full well what it was about. I did, however, think that I probably wasn't going to love it, but I listened to this at a time in the year when I thought manifestation might really help me, mainly because we were trying to get our own place, and there was a bit of time near the beginning of the year when things felt a little bit desolate, and I was listening to The Secret and I thought, do you know what, some of this might be a bit silly, in my previous opinion, but I could do with some motivation to positive thinking. I felt like positive thinking could really potentially help me and my anxiety. What this did for me is make me even more anxious, and also it was a bit ridiculous. Now, I don't necessarily think that manifestation and positive thinking and everything is bullshit, because obviously positive thoughts can take you a long way. But there's a lot of things that it can't get for you that it claims to do in this book. It claims that it can, cure cancer, illnesses, and horrible things that happen to people. And the way it sort of brushes them under as those people didn't work hard enough, didn't manifest enough, A, really triggered my anxiety, and B, also was bullshit. Obviously, a lot of people who love The Secret and love manifestation sort of ignore those shady parts of it, and that's fine. I've definitely been one to ignore sort of parts of books that I loved before, but I couldn't get past it with this one, and that's why it's made it onto my list. So sorry if you loved it. Next, we're going to just move in again, and we're going to go all the way until my 1, which is my least favourite book of the year, which 100% hands down didn't enjoy at all. But we're going to go through them. Next up, we have one I'm really sad that I didn't love, and that is Babel by R.F. Kuang. I love The Poppy War and The Dragon Republic. I haven't read Burning God yet, but I've heard really good things, and I really enjoyed her fantasy work. And when Babel was coming out and I got the Illumicrate edition and the Fairy Loot edition, I really thought I was going to love it, but I was a bit scared by it, really intimidated. A lot of people said it was going to be really hard, and I didn't know what I was going to think about it, and it was only because I was on Sprints on Christy's channel, I think, and we were talking about Babel, and we all of a sudden started reading it at the same time, and I'm pretty sure it took us both 3 weeks plus to even get through it. it put me in such a slump. I love the story and the message. So this book is about Robin Swift, who is taken when he's about 6 or 7, I think, from his home in China to Oxford, or he goes to live in England, and he is basically being taught English as he speaks Mandarin, and he's being taught English as well, so he can translate. And he's been trained to be a translator at the alternative Oxford, so the alternative history Oxford, which is run on Silver Magic, which is these little like silver bars with translated words in them, or translations, and when the translation is spoken they do something magical. So it's like, I don't know, this water fountain does a cool thing. So they're very like they're very ahead of their time in history, because I think this is set in the 1800s, and it's really interesting. And the talk of like translation and colonialism and all sorts of things, and like all of the horrific things that happen in here, and that was all great, and the point it was making, and like the sort of concept I loved, but the way it was presented, like the writing and the pace just wasn't for me. It was really slow. It took me a long time to ingest it, and I read books quite fast, and I couldn't for the life of me read this book fast, even like get through it. I was just putting it down all the time. So it was just mostly disappointing for me. Not to say it isn't a good book. I definitely recommend it. But this one is just so disappointing for me, because I thought maybe I would love it. And I really wanted to love it. And it's so hyped. But it's just not for me, which is fine. Next we have one that I was questioning going into it, but I was hoping for miraculous things. And that is Hothouse Flower by Krista and Becca Ritchie. So this is book 5 in the overall Calloway Sisters series. So there's 3 books in the Addicted series first, and then this is the second book in the separate Calloway Sisters series, but 5th overall in the timeline. And the Addicted series follows Lily and Lo. They are best friends. They have been their entire lives, but Lily's addicted to sex and Lo is addicted to alcohol, and they aren't in a relationship, but they are pretending they're in a relationship, because they both come from very, 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 very wealthy families, and in order to sort of keep their allowance coming and things like that, they pretend to be in a relationship so that they can fuel each other's drug habits. Lily has 3 sisters, 2 of which feature really heavily in the stories, and one of them is Rose and the other one is Daisy. At the beginning of the series, I believe Daisy is 14, and Daisy's romance later in the novel, so when she's like 18, is with Reich. And not to spoil anything, but Reich is a character that comes in and is about 26. He's probably about 24 when the series starts, so a good 10 years, maybe a little bit less, maybe he's like 22, I'm not quite sure. But he's got a good 8 or 10 years on Daisy, and they have this awful relationship where they're really sexual with each other in other characters' books and other characters' stories, whilst she's underage, but they say it's not sexual. They say that people are just being weird and everything like that. And I was really skeptical. I find their relationship very icky. I didn't like it. So even though that she's 19 in this book when they or 18, 19 when they start a relationship, it just feels very icky to me, a bit gross. The way he talks about her is a bit gross. The way he talks about her as an underage teenager is a bit gross. I really thought that, I was kind of hoping that this would come and it would be like Reich is just an idiot and has no idea, like, the situations he keeps putting himself in with Daisy. I mean, it was wishful thinking, but I was really hoping that it would kind of turn the relationship around. Like, the age gap isn't then, it sort of closes as she gets older. But it didn't really do anything to justify it, and I really probably only read it just to get through the series so I could move on to the next book, because it has there's wider world implications for the other sisters, and it's a really shame because I really, really enjoyed the books about the other sisters. I had a really good time with those, so it is what it is, I suppose. Next we have one that I can't really tell you what it's about because I've forgotten, and that is The Bone Ships by R.J. Barker. Now, I had high hopes. I had high hopes earlier this year when Cassidy announced her book club, the Backlist Book Club, and the first book was going to be The Bone Ships. I bought it. I was like, oh, this is the year I'm going to get back into fantasy. I'm going to read this. I'm going to join in. I'm going to watch the live shows. It's going to be really, really good fun. And then I read the book and it was shit. It was really boring. Do you know what? There was a boat. There was this little golem thing, Ghislaine thing. There was talk of dragons, and that's all I remember, unfortunately for you. I'm pretty sure that the entire Backlist Book Club didn't really like it that much anyway. And yeah, it just wasn't great. It wasn't for me. It was really boring. Had the audiobook, another really slow read for me. Not a great time, but we move on. It's made it to the list, so. Next, we have one that I was really hyped for, like super duper hyped for, and it really failed me, and that is Good Girl Complex by Elle Kennedy. I loved the deal. I loved the score. I loved the legacy, the goal, the whatever. I love the off-campus series. They're so fun. I love hockey romances. Elle Kennedy is the one who got me into hockey romances. Their deal is just incredible. I really, really loved it. But I picked up Good Girl Complex on release day. I was so excited to read it. I got the Warzone special edition. And it was just a bit boring. The characters were annoying. They didn't feel believable. I didn't like the way the story unfolded. I just found it really boring. So it's about Mac Cabot, and she's like a rich heiress type girl. She's got a boyfriend who is at college in America ahead of her, in a year ahead of her. And when she goes to college, she finds out he's a bit of a shitbag, and he is a really shit rich man. He just treats people like shit. He treats working class people like shit, like workers when he goes to restaurants, and he has just had enough of it. And the main male character, Cooper, meets Mac's boyfriend when he's being really rude to the local, they call them the townies, like the locals of the little, I think it's like Avalon Bay or something. Yeah, Avalon Bay, which is right next to the college, and he just gets so pissed off. I think he punches him. He's a bit of a bad boy, a bit rough. And he makes it his mission to ruin this guy's life, and in order to do that, he's like, I'm gonna get your girlfriend, and he does. And then it all goes back in his face, and I hate it. First of all, it doesn't help. Bet trope, my least favourite. Hate a bet trope, hate it. I hate the way it unfolds. I just think it's really boring. The setting was boring. The characters were annoying. Yeah, I just cannot tell you how disappointed I was by this. So disappointed. Next we have another really, really disappointing read, and that is Twisted Hate by Anna Huang. Now, everybody and their mother, all the TikTok girlies, love the Twisted series. So did I. I love Twisted Love. I love Twisted Games. So the Twisted series follows 4 like best friends from college. They're in their final year in the first book, and then they separate in the second book. It's like their lives after college, but they're 4 best friends. They really, really love each other. They're all really interesting. They're all very different. And the trope in the first book is brother's best friend and best friend's sister type trope, but also like super grumpy sunshine. And then the second one is rural bodyguard romance. So you're thinking Princess Diaries on acid. So we've got really good tropes, but they're really high drama romances, which I really love. I love it when there's like the third act breakup involves like a kidnapping and some guns and shit. It's top tier. But Twisted Hate is best friend's brother, but also hate to love. So it follows the brother or so the brother from the first book and Jules. So Alex and Jules. No, not Alex. Josh and Jules. Josh and Jules. And that Josh and Jules fucking hate each other. They're always arguing. They just can't seem to get on, and they're like, "Oh, let's get it out of our system and have sex." And then they do, and they're like, "Oh shit, this is amazing." Blah blah blah. Then they sort of, it all unfolds from there. It's very typical. Whereas with the other ones, I felt like had things that I really liked about them individual from their like standard tropes. Obviously, I don't read many Royal Bodyguard tropes, but like best friend's brother, brother's best friend, sorry, trope, it felt very different and it's very interesting. But this felt a bit forced. The drama, like the high drama, and felt really forced. It felt really stupid. And then it did something that I really, really hate that happens in romance books. And it's something that happens. So no, if you don't want any spoilers at all, just scroll past the spoiler tag. But this is very light on the spoilers. But when in a romance book, when one character has found out that the other character has sort of betrayed them, or there's a miscommunication there, and the person who has done the betraying doesn't know that the other person has found out, and they are having sex, and then the person who has been betrayed like really gets really aggressive in sex and really takes that anger out on them in a really aggressive and like a vile way, and then to the point where the person realizes, oh, they're really fucking angry at me, they found out that I betrayed them, and then gets really upset and the sex continues. I don't like that. I don't know about you, but I don't like that. I don't enjoy that. Can't really come back from that for me. So there you go. Worst books of the year. And last but very much not least, we have my worst book of the year, my least favourite. I detested this book. I don't know why I carried on the series. And that is Restless Slumber by KJ Sutton. This is the second book in the Fortuna Sworn series, and Fortuna Sworn is about I can't even remember. It's this woman, I believe she has some sort of like death related power. It's been so long, I've blocked it out of my memory. She has this special, really interesting power, and her brother's been missing for very many years, and she really wants to look for him. But when this Fae King comes to her and says, I know where your brother is if you come with me, and then her brother comes, and then she goes with the Fae King and goes to the Unseelie Court and does all this bits and bobs. I've heard that it's very similar to ACOTAR. It was fine, very long, very, very long. I didn't enjoy it that much. I was a bit unimpressed with it, but I thought, do you know what? I've heard it gets really good, so I'm going to read it. And then the second one, there's something that happens at the end of the second book, which is so obscenely awful and unnecessary. I fucking hated it. I really hated it, and I know people really love this book, but I really hated that thing that happens at the end of the second book. I didn't want to read it. I didn't want to be it. I thought it was stupid that it happened, and I was just really, really annoyed, and I'm still not happy about it now, and every time I think about it, I feel like I've got trauma. And then I read the third book, and I just couldn't get over it. I tried to get over it, but I couldn't. I'm sorry. I can't even tell you why I didn't like it. I can't, because it's a spoiler, like a big spoiler. And I don't even want to say the words. I'm being over dramatic, but it just really annoyed me. And it's plagued me all year, because I read that book in February. So it's plagued me all year, and I am passing that on to you now. So those are my least favourite books of the year, or the ones I enjoyed the least. And I hope that if I read one of your favourite books and I didn't like them, I like most things, so I'm really sorry. But it's fine. I'm telling you it's fine. I hope you think it's fine. But yes, I will chat to you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!